Well, I want to welcome you. Here we are in our fourth lesson already in our series called Genesis, going back to the beginning. I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today. Unfortunately, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. We're going to be focusing on marriage, and specifically, the verse we're going to look at is Genesis 2, verses 24 and 25. I think one of the reasons why people get uncomfortable when we talk about marriages, first of all, is that none of us have the marriage that we know we probably should have. We all realize we probably should be investing a little bit more. And a big part of the problems that we're having in our marriage is our own fault because we're not doing what we know we need to do. Another reason could be is maybe you've gone through a divorce and you feel like a second-class citizen. I want you to know that God doesn't look at you that way. When Jesus went to the cross, he paid for all of our sins. And so I want you to remember that. And especially if you're in a new marriage or you're getting ready to get into a different marriage. The other thing I want to talk about just briefly is if you're single. I want you to know that the Apostle Paul says that if you're single, you should be doing the dance because that's a gift. But maybe you're single and you want to get married. Here's what I want to encourage you. Don't try and do it yourself. Let God bring that person to you just like he did in the very first marriage of Adam and Eve. Now, I want to focus on a couple things, and the first thing is this. Do you remember in the New Testament when Jesus was teaching, there were a group of Pharisees that came to him and they asked him this. Moses gave a certificate of divorce. So tell us, Jesus, what do you say about that? You know what's interesting about that is that Jesus didn't just answer their question. He went all the way back to the beginning, and he went back to this verse in Genesis 2, verses 24 and 25. Let me read this for you. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. The man and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. You know why Jesus went back to this verse? Two reasons. Number one, I think he was talking about the emphasis and the impact that marriage can have on a nation. You see, a marriage, the family, is the basic nucleus of government, of a nation. The Bible tells us that blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. You remember, God told Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply. What were they to multiply? You know the answer to that, right? Godly offspring. Now, in this verse, we find out that a marriage is made up of, number one, it's made up of a man and a woman. The second thing we learn is that the way a marriage is formed is that a man and woman will leave and they will cleave. They leave their families and they cleave and they are united or glued to each other. The third thing that we look at in this marriage is that it's also inclusive. It's one man in a relationship with a woman for a lifetime. That's the basics of how families are formed. And Jesus is telling the Pharisees, this is how you form a family, and then that's how you then form other families. When one family begets another family, and they are strong because their foundation is in the Lord, you have a strong community and a strong nation. That's why we know that a nation is strong when families are strong. When families are under attack, guess what? The nation falters. Now, sometimes you may think, well, how do you know that and why does that happen? Well, all we have to do is go back to the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire is a perfect example of what happens when marriage comes under attack. In the Roman Empire, there were two things that were happening. Number one, there was a lot of divorce. The family and marriage was under attack. And the second thing is that there was a lot of sexual perversion. The result of that is that because the basic foundation, the family, was falling apart, the nation began to implode. You see, because families were imploding, they began to become suspect to everything that was from on the outside coming in. And we know what happened to that nation. It fell apart. That's what we're seeing in our very own United States. The family is under attack. But when you go back to this, Jesus makes it very plain. This is what a family is. This is how a family is formed. And when this happens, nations are strong. I hope you'll take some time tonight and you'll discuss the questions. I hope you'll share about your feelings about things that you're seeing and maybe even some input on how you have been successful in your own marriages. Enjoy this time together and God bless your discussion.